really love just the explanation to, let's say, the 12-year-old in all of us that maybe hasn't yet gone on that biological journey, didn't have that. I don't know when I first took biology, maybe it was 8th grade was my first real biology class. But if you could give us some perspective on why, in your opinion, this is the century of biology, and why you think we still know so little, and what 10x Genomics does in service of trying to set us up for a great century.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny that you mentioned, right, taking biology back in school, because when I think back to when I took biology in high school, so much has advanced. It's so much of it is different now, which is what makes it so exciting. It's really that progress of our understanding of biology that is on this sort of exponential curve, which is incredibly exciting. And so the reason it's like it's happening is sort of this the convergence of several multiple trends. One is just miniaturization, being able to create devices that can measure things at larger and larger scale with higher and higher resolution. Really that progress and the computational capabilities that process the data that comes off. And so we can now measure biology better and better. And now we can learn things about biology, and that has a compounding effect, that because the more you know, the easier it is to learn more. Now, the challenge, though, is that biology is insanely complex. And I think it is just like consistently we underestimate just how complex it is and how much more there is to know. We've learned a lot over the last couple of more decades, but there's so much more to know. And so the amount we don't know and don't understand about biology is vastly greater than what we actually do know. And that really comes down to this complexity. Just to give you sort of a little bit of the intuition, right? Each human is made of roughly close to 40 trillion individual cells. And each of those cells has this enormously complex genome that's in there that codes for the biology that happens. And it expresses all kinds of different molecules that all interact with each other in multiple ways. And it's kind of, when things are going well, they're all interacting well. And when things are, slightly off, that leads ultimately to diseases, right? And it's driving toward that understanding. That's how we will understand, disease, and ultimately how we will figure out ways of addressing it. To give you a little bit of analogy, right now, when we're trying to kind of develop therapies or understand diseases, it's sort of like trying to fix a car when you don't know how cars work. And so the task ahead for us is to understand that the fundamentals of biology, right? How it works, what is it that makes disease different from healthy state, and so we know that there is this opportunity in front of us. We know we're still in the early days, but we know that it's going to be happening in the coming decades, which is why I kind of see, broadly speaking, this is the century of biology, where you can imagine these things that felt like science fiction, still seem like science fiction to many, to most people out there, will become reality. Like being able to cure cancer sounds grandiose and challenging, but in the next couple of decades, we're going to make incredible progress. Alzheimer's disease, neurodegeneration, we see what's happening with infectious disease, pandemics, but we are on the threshold of again, making these challenges kind of a thing of the past. And so now maybe kind of zeroing in a little bit on 10x and like what our vision, what our goal is. Fundamentally, the premise is, right, we need to understand biology much better. And to do that, we need to be able to measure the biological systems much better than we have been able to do before. And this is kind of maybe one of the also surprising things, is just how difficult it is to measure biology at the right resolution, the right scale, because it is so complex. And our goal is to build technologies and tools for scientists and ultimately clinicians to be able to measure whether it's you take a sample of blood or you take a slice of tissue and see what is kind of happening in the individual cells and individual molecules. That will drive new discoveries, which will ultimately drive new cures.